Well, thank you guys for coming. As I said, I'm Susan Renoe, and my office works with researchers to create public engagement plans, primarily for research proposals, but really for any kind of programming that you want to do. And one of the things that we saw as a major challenge for researchers in getting research grants is being able to not only create engagement programming, but also to evaluate that, especially for the National Science Foundation. If you don't have a strong evaluation plan, that really hurts your chances of getting funded. And so on one hand, we wanted an evaluation tool that would give faculty access to really high quality evaluation materials for a low cost. Because one of the problems we found is that researchers either had a hard time finding an evaluator or finding one that would fit in their budget. I know that you probably understand that, but the budgets are fairly small and limited. And so we really wanted you to have access to high quality with low cost. But on the flip side, we also are being charged with kind of grouping all this data together. So how do we report on the great activities of our university in the aggregate if nobody's doing evaluation, or somebody's doing one kind of survey and somebody's doing something else, or somebody's doing focus groups? And so we don't have any way of systematically gathering that information. And so we partnered with the Assessment Resource Center to create the Binders tool. So I'm not going to talk very much about it because I really think the tool itself is really awesome, and I want you to have time to get in there and really play with it. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and Kent.
Good afternoon. We're going to split this into two different parts. So I'm going to walk through the application first, and then once we've shown you all of the unique features and widgets that are part of this tool, we're going to go then and turn it over to you guys, and you guys can start playing with the tool. Okay? So the production site for this tool is on arc-binders.missouri.edu, and you all should be able to see this site. The first part we're going to start is creating a new project. And we're going to call this, Kent, how about you give me a title?
Okay, let's see, wait, the bee's knees.
Bee's knees. And we'll say it's going to start today, and I'll say it's going to be towards the end of the semester. So once you create a project, the first box you'll notice is the broader impacts goals. And this is important. You want to review this broader impacts goals and look to see which one of these goals are applicable to what you're working on. So we're going to say bee's knees. Maybe it involves, for this project we're working on, involves increasing bee health. So we're going to say maybe improve well-being of individuals. We're going to offer some education, STEM education to high schoolers about the importance of bees. Because we've gotten some funding to promote bee health. So I'm going to check all these ones that are actually applicable to what proposal, what project I'm working on.
And by the way, one thing to keep in mind is that all of you, if you have a University of Missouri system POP print, you should be able to log in. So if you're playing around on this, you should have no trouble getting in. If you do, by all means, let us know. But anybody affiliated with the system should be able to log in right now. Yeah.
And if everybody uses computers, that's a great thing. That's the power page for broader impact.
Yeah, you're in. Yeah. Yeah, but she did. She created a new project. Right?
Okay, so continuing on the right-hand side, this is additional information you need to tell about your project. And sometimes you'll have it when you're first starting the project, or sometimes you'll have it later. So you can always come back to this part. So right now I'm going to say, yep, this is a funded project. The grant amount I got, it was an amount, it was $4,500. BI funding, I got, we'll say 500. And then we have a list of funding sources. We realize that the list of funding sources is a large list, so we've tried to condense it down to maybe these are the most frequent that you would choose. But as we get more feedback, we can add additional items into this list. So for this, I'm going to say USDA. I have no organization, and then I'm going to save and proceed. So right now, where did we go? We created a project. We added some BI goals. We added some additional information. The next thing we're going to do is what activities of broadened participation. Right now we just have 3. So for this project that I am working on, I'm going to do some community outreach, and I'm going to do some high school campus visits. I'm going to save. So as you notice, I have other projects in here, but we're going to come back to the bee's knees. So you notice that we created a project. We added some additional information. I'm going to go back to the page of goals and activities because I want to establish some activities related to my project. So if I want to set up some activities to follow, let's see, improved education. Kent, how about you give me an activity to improve education for this one? So what's an activity we want to do?
Let's see, honey production.
Honey production. So we're going to increase honey production through community knowledge of, see, it knew I spelled that wrong, knowledge of bee health. How's that? So I'm going to save and return to goals and activities. And if I scroll down here, you notice here's an activity that I have associated with improved education. So at any time you can come back here and you can add activities that you want to strive towards. Okay, so moving along, we've created a project. We added some additional information. I've set some activities that I want to be associated with my broader impact goal project, as well as I've stated some activities that I want to attain to. The next thing I want to do is I want to get some participation data. I want to provide some surveys so that when I'm at high schools or community outreach, that I can get some participation data. So you want to go to the survey dashboard, which is right here.
Now, one thing that we do offer with this also is if you're going to be doing an activity, you can either have paper forms or you can conduct your surveys online. So if you want to, there's a section we'll show you later on.
Yeah, I can go right to there.
Where you can order paper forms if you need to do that. Whereas, you can also, like she said, you can also do it online, which would be your survey dashboard normally.
Right. So as Ken said, on the survey dashboard, you can start, here's survey dashboard, you can start an online survey, or you can go to the resources page and you can order paper evaluations. They have the same question, so whatever's convenient for you. Sometimes people like the feel of paper, they like working with paper, so they will order some paper evaluations to hand out at a community engagement event. Or if they don't think that's attainable and they think an online session would be better, they come here to an online. So the first step in creating an online survey would be create a survey. So with each one of the surveys, you want to select what event that you want to attach it to. I'm going to attach it to the project that I just created that I'm working with, which is Bee's Knees. I have a survey type here. I have general public outreach, I have high school outreach, and I have undergraduate research. So looking at these, maybe you might be guessing, well, which one do I want to launch first, or what do they look like? Right here are all of their links to provide to you so you can see what questions are being asked for each one of the surveys.
Now, one caution there, though, is if you view that, do not print it up and try to give those out as surveys. Our scanners will probably not pick them up. So make sure if you're going to give paper forms that you do go ahead and order them. But that'll kind of give you an overview. If you click on those, that'll let you see your surveys so you'll know which ones you want. But it's for informational purposes only.
Right, but it should just give you an idea if you had questions about what type of survey or what questions would be asked. Yes, ma'am.
So if you say order them, how long does it take?
Well, it depends on which campus you're on, but we generally will fill them, 24, 48 hours, and then campus mail, we'll drop them in campus mail. On the Columbia campus, it usually doesn't take more more than 2 or 3 days. But if you're in St. Louis, it can take up to a week because campus mail only runs about once a week to some of those locations. But
Or you could pick them up in our Townsend.
yes, we can also send them to our Townsend office, and you could pick them up as well if you didn't want to wait for campus mail or something.
And the thing to know about that is, right now we have about 1,000 copies of each survey that we pay for already. So if you use them now, they're free. But when those 1,000 are gone, it's like 8 cents a copy for the paper copy and to run it. So it's very cost effective.
So on survey type, I don't see your other categories. So what if your survey type doesn't fit one of those different descriptions?
Well, I mean, right now, those are the 3 surveys that we offer. Now, it is on our radar to potentially offer some other surveys. They would probably be online only if we were to do that. It just hasn't happened yet. So, that is something that we are trying to be mindful of, and we're hopeful will happen in the future if enough interest is generated in this tool. But at this point, we don't have another survey category yet.
Well, and that part of that is because we only have so much money, right? So the biggest run of this was to get the tool up and running. And we picked those 3, plus it has an overarching goal of drawing presentation that's built into it. Because we felt like those were 4 areas that people focus on the most. So like Kent said, the next step, next iteration or the next release of this would be to add more surveys. And Melissa's working on that to help us do that. So if you have some that you would like to see, this is a good time to give us feedback to know what we need to add next.
So specifically, we'll be looking at the other 7 of those 8 areas of broader impacts to try to figure out which ones are most common to do, and then we can build out surveys within that.
So we've already been told we need a graduate one. We'd like to have a high school teacher one. We'd like to do some other ones. So if there's ones you like, Ryan, what would you like?
Yeah, so I'm just curious in terms of the high school goal we've developed with a middle school. Right? So just how that's, it could just be that the wording or that it's, the questions are similar, but if it's given to middle schoolers or how's that being administered, right? So just that still the school outreach, but maybe at a lower population maybe, right?
Yes, so that's our hope is to go keep moving more of that.
Now, if the questions are similar, you might be able to get around it in a middle school by saying, just leave your grade blank or something
That's
like
what I
that.
mean.
And so, but you'd be able to review that high school survey and see, is this really something that I could give to a middle school student?
But that would be a conversation we just want to have, right? So we could look at the high school surveys. All these surveys were adapted from a survey that was actually developed as part of the NSF project. And so we tried to look at something that has been used elsewhere and then try to, build it out from there. But absolutely, if we develop something, we can look at that. Or if there's other tools that are out there that have already been vetted, we could look at putting those online too. So those are the kinds of conversations we've been having. How can we get more surveys up here so that it will be a more robust tool?
So you don't develop the questions they're already they're pre-made.
For the ones that are
surveys.
on there so far,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Could you have a survey where you can,
Put questions in.
yes, and then it just, because you just generated, right? You're not really, kind of like an open, I'm typing in my questions and then it will generate.
So you're talking about custom questions, and I think
Yeah, I mean,
that's on our list. But again, when we launched this, we wanted to have the core questions. But as we go through this period, we're trying to figure out what is the next level of surveys we want to offer. And I think custom questions was on our list. We're trying to vet out what method would be the best for everyone.
Right, but that's what I mean, like even a custom survey. So like, it would be kind of like, almost like an open survey, then just basically putting my questions in.
But the problem with that is then we can't do that. So we have to have a standard set of, come on, informatics.
I'm thinking, I don't understand why you don't link then, well, okay, it's fine.
But you can, well, let us know, because if you think of a way for us to look, that'd be great.
I'm
So-
thinking to link to a survey tool like Qualtrics or something that's available at the university anyway, that then I can, but unless you have this set up as
No, go ahead, no, let's talk.
as generating this, if I just type in my question and it still should work. If not, then link me to Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey or
But
whatever.
that's if you have access to Qualtrics, not everybody on campus has access to Qualtrics.
I think we do now. It's new.
Well, and something else.
So, yes.
Your department is paid for.
No, I think that they extended it. We just found it out.
Well, we can talk about that.
Okay.
But the whole point behind the
Right.
standard surveys is to be able to aggregate them. And our hope is that there'll be a way that we can then have people, they can add other questions that go along with it, but
Right.
also finding out over the course of time if there are several people who are asking the same question, we
Right.
can also add those in. So in the next iteration, that's one of the things we talked about, because several people have asked about that.
So
Now,
I have to, I'm sorry.
Something else to keep in mind, I mean, you can always create your project and set up your funding. And I know we had one person at a previous demo who said that, well, I'm going to use the undergraduate outreach survey, but I'm also going to pass out some of my own questions at the end. And so you just wouldn't be able to store that
Right.
in the tool. But you can always set up a project
Right.
and do whatever with that project and you can set up your whether or not it's funded and all the information. And so you can always work that into your grants or whatever if you need to. And so if you were going to use it, if you wanted to use some extra questions, if you had the means to do that, make your questions, pass them out. I mean, you're not prohibited
Right.
from doing that.
Okay.
I mean, it's just we
Well,
can't
that's-
really do a lot with
you have
that.
something that you can help with,
Okay, so for this example, for the project that I'm working on, I am going to select the general public outreach. I'm going to give it a time frame here. Let's see, I'm going to say the 5th of February. And you notice when I got in here, it defaults to 12 a.m. You don't have to set a time. You have that option, you can, if you would like. I'm going to set it to February 5th, 8 a.m. This is my start time. And the ending time, say the 23rd, 5 o'clock. Okay, so we have successfully launched a survey. So this is just additional, or not additional information, but this is just the summary of all the information that I just selected. The survey name, the event that I have attached it to, the start and end time. And then you notice now there's a survey code that appears. So this is the survey code that you need to distribute to your participants. So I'm going to return to the surveys. And now I have a survey that shows up here. So I have the event, the name, the start and end date, how many days I have left, and respondents. So as people start submitting their evaluations, I don't know who they are. I just know that they have submitted evaluation. That number will change. And then I have a survey token. So I also have some actions over here. I can choose if this is not working for me, or if I want to close it early, I can close my survey only. So say I had 10 respondents in the room and I have 10 that shows up here. I can close the survey early because I can say I've got all the respondents I need. I have the option, I can edit the survey. The only part for the edit the survey is you can extend the survey. So if you see you don't have a lot of respondents yet, you can extend your survey end date. You can delete your survey if needed. Say I selected the wrong one and I just want to start over, or I just want to get rid of it, you can delete it. Email participants, let's click on that. It's coming. Do I ever say yes? Oh, let's hit cancel. I think I have to set an email account up here.
Yeah, the email participants works with the email client on your machine. So if you don't have an email client on your machine, you might need to set one up. I mean, I know there are some open source ones if you're like on your home machine and you don't have Outlook or something. There are, I think Thunderbird is open source that you can use. It's the same people who do Firefox, but it should work with the default email client on your machine.
Yeah, since this is not my machine, or this is the library machine, the default email is not coming up. But basically, it's just Outlook would open with just some simple text that says, please take this survey, and this is the survey token you would use. And again, I even say it up here, say, please use this following link. So this is the link that you need to share with all your users to fill out the survey. The survey token is case sensitive, so what you see here is what needs to be distributed to your user. So if you don't use Outlook or you use some type of other mail service, you just need to copy what this link is, and then your personal information, like, you just attended this event, please fill this out, and this is a survey token. moving on.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If you have a group email, I'm assuming that's blind copy. Like it's not gonna, it's, the other participants aren't gonna see who the other people are on the survey request.
When you open you mean email participant,
Yeah,
it's just blank. So if you're used to using Outlook, you fill in the participants, but yeah, you can just use a group and that would work best.
right.
Yes.
I'm just saying it would be a blind copy. Like
Yes.
Go to the individual one, but not a group where they see all the.
Oh, it doesn't have the email address. You just went to the blank email. You just go.
For us to.
Yeah, you can just put in.
Right.
It just gives you the text of the people.
Okay,
Right.
So we're not populating email addresses.
No.
Right. Right, because at the time we're setting this up, we don't know who the participants are.
Right.
So, yeah, so you could send it however you wanted. If you wanted to give it a group, if you wanted to put everybody in the group in the 2-line, you could do that. If you wanted to do it individually,
Right.
you could do it as well.
Can we tell for a minute, the fact that one of the reasons why I like that we can close the survey now is that when your survey is in progress, you can't see the results. So like, I like to know sometimes how's it going, right? After people responded, I want to know what's going on. You can't see the results of the survey until the survey is closed. Well, it's one of those things that for right now, that's what it is. So in order for you to be able to see the results of your survey, you have to. I don't know about that. Can it be reopened once it's closed, or you have to do a new one?
We would have to reopen it.
They will have to go, you have to email them and say, I want to reopen it.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Okay, so I showed you how to create an online survey. Let me get to the point or get to the location of where, so if you didn't want to do an online survey and you wanted to do a paper survey, you could go back, let's go back to the home real quick. There's 2 different locations you can get. You can need to order a paper survey. You can click here, or it's also up here in the resources tab. So you notice when I got to this page, it already filled out this information because I'm already signed in. So based on my account, it's already filling in my address, my phone number, email address, but you can always update this if it's not correct or if you need to add additional information.
And I highly recommend that, especially the first time you do that, look and see, make sure that information is correct, because they actually have my address spelled wrong in there. And so I have to change it every time. And so you probably want to make sure, because sometimes there are typos in the directory that it pulls from in the main directory. So
I was thinking, in the paper survey, and running the forum, and then, I'm like, oh, go home, that's but we have to order it, because it's necessarily a PDF.
correct.
It's just like a post evaluation, so it has coded on the side.
Right.
And instead of that, they won't do it.
Right, yeah, and then, yeah, I mean, it, right.
Okay, so if you wanted to order a paper, you just put in your quantity. Let's say I want 50. Indicate what form you want. I'll do it in high school. And again, I have all the PDFs here. We can open up high school outreach. So you can see all the questions for all the different ones. And again, we had just mentioned that the reason why you order the paper, these are actually, we call them skunk marks, but these are what lines up the paper so that we can read the paper evaluation. So this is why if you print them out, if it's not on the right printer, it causes a headache. So this is why you order the paper from us, so that everything's accurate.
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind is that our scanners actually just see lines and dots, and that's how they know what your response is. So if you were to print it up on your own printer, if those colors will drop out, but if you print them on your own printer, they may not, and that could also cause the scanner to jam up. Yes, you can even put them in campus mail. So you could put them in campus mail, and we could scan them as well. So you wouldn't actually have to bring them directly to our facility, though you could bring them to Townsend or to the Assessment Resource Center off campus if you wanted to.
That's not the or. You don't have to do just paper or online. You can do both, and the system will have to
Okay. And again, your address should be here. This is what they have, or I can say, I'll pick up my order in person. And again, if there's any discrepancy between this and this, we'll usually, since we have the email and phone number, we'll probably pick up the phone and say, this address doesn't make sense, or how did you really want this order? So you just place an order. Okay. So moving along, I'm gonna go back to the home menu. So let's recap. So we created a new project based on, at least in our example, research that we're doing to increase bee health. I added some broader impacts that are related to my project. I added additional information as far as grant money funding. I added some BI activities. I started a survey to collect some information. Let's see, where else to now? Oh, so I will go to, let me go to another one I have already closed. Let's see. That one, yes.
Yeah.
So when a survey has completed, as you noticed when we were back on the other, when we were on the dashboard, you'll have two boxes when you're on the survey dashboard. You'll have in progress, or you'll have completed surveys. So anytime the end date passes, the survey will close, the data is collected, and it moves down to completed surveys. So at any one time, you could have data up in the in progress and the completed survey, depending on the timing. So once it's closed, it tells you how many respondents. You can download the data to CSV. If I have more than one data, you have the option to aggregate. So you can aggregate like data. And what does that mean? You can aggregate like form. So if I had if I gave my survey out to a bunch of high schools and I wanted to aggregate all that data together, I could. But I can't aggregate general public outreach and then high school. But you can aggregate like data.
And the aggregate reports, if you were to generate those, they do not happen immediately. And I mean, it's actually set on a timer. So every few hours, the timer will run, and then it will combine those reports. But by the next day, you should have them, and it will contact you when they're in. So if you don't hear anything and you go back in the next day and you find they're not there, by all means, let us know.
Okay, so the last part, so let's see, we went through surveys, online and paper. We talked about the aggregate report. The final thing I want to talk about is the project tools. Okay, Kent, you want to talk a little bit? We can create a new project
Yeah, we'll
tool.
go ahead and create a new project tool here. And let's see, what do we want to do? High school outreach?
Let's do high school outreach annual
let's
form.
do a high school outreach annual form. And you can change the name of it because, I mean, if you're giving a lot of them, maybe you want to say Lafayette High School annual outreach form because you went over to St. Louis and gave it there, and then you wanted to have North KC High School. You would have that option.
Okay.
And it has a series of questions according to the high school outreach form. So you could say, you can pretty well see it there. Just briefly describe in 200 words or less how your project facilitates. So it gives you the opportunity to set this up and describe what you're doing with that form.
And you have a lot of information in this annual form. And like Kent said, you can rename it to what the needs are, like the St. Louis High School. Let's see.
And so this is a tool you could use for your funders if you have an annual report that you have to submit, that you could go in here and then easily do, check what makes sense, and then it pushes out a report, but then you can just go and submit or embed in a large report.
Yeah, and there's also a section for information down below all of this where you can fill out how many students participated or were expected to participate, and it's got known disabilities because a lot of people want to reach out to underserved people in the STEM communities. And so people with disabilities, minority students, you can fill out those kinds of questions so you know how many you either had or would expect to have.
And I'm gonna save. Turn that. Okay. So I think in a short amount of time, I think we've touched. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, let's go to resources. I have one more thing to show you. Let's go to the resources tab.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, wait, there's more. Okay, Melissa, you want to talk about the self-evaluation rubric and the narrative?
Sure. So far we've talked mostly about surveys that you develop after you got funding or after a project is already underway, but we actually developed this to be a tool that you could use from start to finish. So as you're developing a project, developing a proposal, and so this is actually a self-evaluation rubric that you could use at the beginning of a project. You're focusing on broadening participation, and Jennifer, you scroll down just in the second page.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are 6 dimensions of high quality broadening participation projects, and all based on the research. And so the rest of this rubric goes through and says, for inclusive stakeholder involvement, how are you addressing this in your project? And it's, if you go down to the next page.
Yes.
So you'll see, so the extent to which stakeholder groups underrepresented in STEM are involved, so on and so forth, and you rate yourself. And here's the evidence. And this isn't necessarily something you've ever turned in, but maybe useful as you're developing your project to really try to understand sort of where you are in terms of broadening participation for that broader impact. So a useful tool there to kind of think through that, again, all based on the research. The other thing, and Jennifer, if you go back to resources and pull open that
Narrative.
the narrative. So as you're developing your proposal, what we've written up here is something that you, boilerplate that you can just drop into a proposal that describes Finders, what it is, how it was developed, and it has all the citations there. It has some screenshots of the actual tool. So this is just something that we have it there in PDF and Word version, so you can just cut it and paste it into a proposal. And so a number of faculty here on campus have already started to do this, so just go ahead and put it in your proposal. And so again, the goal and the hope is that then you start from the beginning, put your project in, put the information in, use this to help develop the proposal, wait, hopefully it gets funded, and then you have your survey tool there as well.
If you look at the field at the bottom, there's got some screenshots you can put in there, and then right above that is some information that you can either put into the text or you can also put into the facility statement. So like for an NSF proposal, you can talk about the connector, but also about the park. And if you need to save space, you can put that in. And it's available as a PDF and Word. It also includes the references for you to put in at the back of your side page for your
Thank you.
Maybe go back just for a minute to the beginning of the project part where you put the activities in. So one of the things that I wanted to show you that I think is really cool is that this part right here is based exactly on the template that we use in our office for working with faculty and to plan the broader impact session. So we ask you to pick, I generally ask people to say state a goal based on NSF's 9 suggested areas, and then put activities under each of those goals, and then the evaluation hopefully will evaluate whether that's successful. And so when you get done with this, you can actually use this as a template for writing the broader impact session.
All right. Well, we've thrown a lot of information at you, but now it's your turn. So now that we've gone through how to walk through and use this tool, we'll now take the second half of this time and see if you guys want to walk through it yourself and if there's any questions, because sometimes you have that aha moment while you're working through the tool and going, oh, okay, now I knew what you meant and this is where I can put it. So have fun.
And if you have any questions,
We are here.